What if I told you that you could own a 35mm Cinelux and still afford to keep both of your kidneys? What's going on YouTube? I hope you guys are having an amazing week. My name is Quintavious Oliver, and if you've ever spent hours in the darkroom working on one single photograph, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. If you've never been in a darkroom before, also hit that subscribe button because I've got some pretty cool stuff in the works for you guys and you're not going to want to miss this stuff. But before I get too far ahead of myself, I'm going to go ahead and assume that you guys have actually read the title of this video and are already aware that this is not a 35mm Cinelux. It is, however, TT Artisan's brand new 35mm f1.4, and it is absolutely incredible. I spent the last week photographing everything from street photography to portraits with my friends, hanging out with my family. I mean, this lens has been amazing for everything that I've thrown at it. I mean, if you're looking for a budget alternative to the $6,000 35mm Cinelux, look no further. I know there's a lot of different third-party alternatives out there, but this has got to be the best one I've ever used, and that is saying a lot. The very first day I got this lens, I called up my friend Ty. We went out and made some portraits, and I was blown away by this lens's ability to keep everything extremely sharp, even down to f1.4. That night, I ended up going to an event at Peter Street Station that was pretty much only lit by candlelight, and this lens absolutely sang. I mean, I really can't get over how sharp and crisp and clean this lens is, even at f1.4. Before I get too far into all the things that make this lens great, I want to talk about a couple of things that I didn't really dig about this lens. And the first is the lens hood. I do love the shape. It's a nice metal lens hood, and it's even got this cutout right here so that it doesn't block the viewfinder. However, if you caught the tail end of my unboxing video that I posted last week, you'll notice I was spinning the lens hood around a lot, and that's because this thing is really easy to lose. While it is nicely built, it comes off fairly easy, and I was actually worried that on the first day of shooting with this thing, I was going to lose it. Fortunately, I had some blue Loctite handy, and I ended up putting it on the threads. And this thing is externally threaded, so I don't have to worry about not being able to put filters on. It does use these nice 49mm filters, which I've got plenty of, so that's cool. I just should never have to put Loctite on any of my lenses. So that's one thing. The second thing is this lens is not 6-bit coded. And that means nothing to anyone who shoots film. It's not going to affect your image quality at all. However, having that EXIF data when I'm shooting with a digital camera does come in handy for the sole purpose of staying organized. I like my Lightroom catalogs to be very organized so that I can type in or search whatever lens, whatever day, whatever subject matter, and it pops right up. So it just adds an extra step when I'm uploading stuff into Lightroom where I have to type in what lens I used. If either of those things are deal breakers when it comes to your lens selection, you are really missing out, because let me tell you, aside from those two very small things, this lens is absolutely superb. Let me also say that I bought this lens with my own money, and TT Artisan is not paying me to say anything nice about this lens. I am genuinely and honestly shocked at how amazing this lens is. I mean, when you consider that this lens comes in at under $500 and its like alternative is well over $5,000, this is a steal. This lens makes amazing pictures, and I was not ready for how sharp this thing is, especially at 1.4. I tried a little bit of street photography with this lens, and while it's just as good as any other lens for street photography, I really do believe that this lens was meant to be shot wide open at f1.4, and that shallow depth of field kind of lends itself more to things that are sitting still versus a subject that's moving. That being said, if you get it right, it is absolutely perfect. Because of its wide aperture of f1.4, I actually went back to one of my old favorite film stocks and used some Pan F+ when making pictures with my friend Janae, and those pictures turned out superb. I like the idea of being able to pull film, shoot an ISO of 50 or ISO 25 at f1.4 during broad daylight. It really does create a pretty special look. I ended up spending most of last night developing that film and am quite pleased with the contrast that this lens produces, even without a color filter on here. Now, if you're not sure why I would use an orange or a green or a red filter on my lens while shooting black and white, make sure you leave a comment below. Maybe I'll do a video on that. And if you want to see my developing process, let me know in the comments below as well, and I might do a video on that within the next week or so. But let me tell you, shooting film, shooting digital, shooting whatever with this lens is an absolute joy, and I am very pleased with my purchase here. I wasn't expecting a whole lot from anything, especially a 35mm f1.4 priced at under $1,000. But even at 1.4, this thing is tack sharp. I mean, the colors that come out of this thing, the contrast that this thing has, and even that pop, it has a lot of character. It's not like the character people used to use to describe the Leica glow for older lenses like the 35mm Similux version 2, the pre-spherical one. I actually used to own one of those, and I found that there's a really good reason why Leica lenses, or at least their modern ones, don't feature that glow anymore, and it's because it's not practical. If I'm doing professional work or I'm shooting documentary style or even landscapes, I don't want my highlights to glow at me. I can always add those weird special effects in post, but if I'm gonna pay that much for a lens, I don't want it to do that. I want my pictures to be sharp, and this thing delivers. A lot of people are worried about distortion when it comes to knockoff lenses and things like that. So I made it a point to actually shoot some stuff with some architecture in it, and I really couldn't find any distortion at all. This lens could be your one and only lens if you could only have just one. And at under $500, I don't see why you wouldn't have one of these. Now, like I said, I did own the 35mm Similux version 2 for a while. I ended up selling that lens because it only focused down to 1 meter, and I like to get just a little bit closer. Likewise, it did have that Leica glow, and I'm just not a fan of it. Some people love it. I'm not one of those people. This thing does everything that I expected that lens to do at a fraction of the price. Now, I know there's a lot of Leica snobs out there who only want to put Leica branded glass on their camera, and if that's you, kudos for having deep pockets, but I'm not built like that. Especially being a single dad, I don't get to spend all my money on toys, so I have to work with what I've got. And what TT Artisan has done here is make the ability to create superb pictures accessible. There are many people out there who feel like their ability to create has been stifled because of their budget, and that just shouldn't be true. If you're a creative person, you should never feel like you're in a box because of financial limitations. Your creativity could be exactly how you get out of that situation, and I think that TT Artisan could be the answer to all of your problems. I mean, you're still gonna have to learn how to make a good picture, and this nor any $10,000 lens is going to help you become a better photographer. But this does make the ability to make good pictures very accessible. So kudos to TT Artisan. You guys have done an amazing job here. A couple of other things. I really love the ergonomics on this lens. I have slightly bigger hands, so having these tabs on the aperture ring does help out quite a bit. Likewise, so does this focusing ring, or this tab right here. I really do love that. A lot of lenses don't have that, and that's a shame because it does make focusing just a little bit smoother. Compared to my beloved 35mm Summicron Spherical version 1, I really didn't see much of a difference past f2, and was genuinely shocked at that. At f2 and beyond, these lenses are almost identical, and that's shooting film or digital. At f1.4, of course, there's a slight advantage in terms of bokeh with this one. If you haven't already tried one of these, or you don't have one on pre-order, I've noticed that these things are on back order right now, maybe because they're that good. But if you can get your hands on one of these, go ahead and do it, because there's no excuse, especially at its price point at under $500, why everyone shouldn't own one of these lenses. So I'm gonna shut up now and then go back to making pictures and maybe have another video for you guys in the next couple of days. Till then, keep making pictures, stay amazing, peace.